Welcome back to another lesson in text processing and analysis. This video is on lesson 6.2 on Word documents, on getting text out of Word documents. Microsoft Word docx files is what I'm referring to there. So let's jump in. So the objective of this lesson is that students will be capable of extracting text from Microsoft Word documents. And Microsoft Word documents have an extension of .docx, right? If you look at on the hard drive, you look at a docx file. Let me just show you real quick what I'm referring to there. All right, so these have docx. I can't really make this bigger in Finder, but anyway, docx is the extension, the file extension for Microsoft Word documents, at least the newer ones that are based on XML. Okay, so the way to do this is first you need to get the Python dash, not underscore, but dash docx module. And then weirdly, you only import docx. You don't have to import Python dash. So, and then you create an object with the function document. Then you loop over the paragraph's attribute of that object. Mind the lack of parentheses. So it's not a function, it's just dot paragraphs, no parentheses, no nothing after that. And then you extract the text of each paragraph of the current paragraph as you're looping over them in a for loop with the dot text attribute. Again, no parentheses. And note that legacy Microsoft Word documents with the extension of only doc, not docx, but just doc, need to be dealt with in a different way. And you can check out this Stack Overflow thread if you'd like. The question was, how do you read docx files in Python? And I think either of these would work. So this is a module in Python that really grabs many other modules to read in texts. There is a command line tool called anti-word that you can convert a doc to a docx. So, and in fact, they say text rack or text extract is the backend. In the backend is actually using this anti-word command line tool. So anyway, we're going to look at docx files, the newest ones they've been around for 10, 15 something years. I'm not sure when. Microsoft decided to have their Microsoft Word documents based on XML, storing the data in XML files. A docx file is simply an XML file so anyway, so that's the logic. So the first thing we're going to do is get the Python dash docx package. You can pip install it if you like. I'll use PyCharm, so I'll jump over to Python. And in Mac, you come up to the PyCharm menu, and then here you click on Preferences. Once again, on Windows, if I'm not mistaken, it's under File Settings to get to this view here where we have this Settings Preferences window, right? And we need to come down to the project name, whatever project name you have for your in your PyCharm, and then interpreter. And this shows the package that I have associated with this interpreter or available for the interpreter I'm using, the Python interpreter. And I already have Python docx right there, but if I did not on Mac, I would click on the plus sign here at the bottom of the list. On Windows, that plus sign is probably on the right side up here. Click on the plus sign, right? Come up to the search bar, put your cursor in there and do Python dash, not underscore, docx. And there it is. It says create and update Microsoft Word docx files. You would say install packages. After a couple seconds, it should say package Python dash docx installed successfully. Terrific. And then we say, okay, thank you. Okay, so that's the first step, is simply getting this module off of the internet onto your hard drive so that your Python script can use the module. And within your Python script, you need to import docx. So I'll jump back over to PyCharm, and I'll just grab the first solution to the first exercise so we can look at it as an example. So here I import docx. Once again, you do not import Python dash docx, even though you have to find that module name, python-docx, you only have to import docx, right? Okay. Then we create a document object here with the pathway. So we say docx, which is the name of the module, dot capital D document, and then the pathway to the docx file. You can see that's a docx file because it ends in that extension there. This is the full pathway on my hard drive here in front of me. This pathway would be different on your hard drive, right? Depending on where it is on in your file system. So you create that object. I'll just call it doc. Then I'll jump back over to lesson plan. All right, so we've done that. We've created an object with the function document. Then we're going to loop over the dot paragraphs attribute of the object. Mind the lack of parentheses. Okay. So that's what we're doing here. Doc is now holding this document, and there's an attribute called dot paragraphs. And so we're going to loop over it in a for loop here on line 4, right? And so I'm going to use the variable name para for paragraph because each thing is a paragraph that we're inside the for loop. So for para in doc, which was created on line 3 here, right? Dot paragraphs, no parentheses, right? This is not a function. This is simply an attribute of this object. Colon, new line, indentation. And then each paragraph has a text attribute, which you access with dot text. Again, no parentheses on the text. We're seeing a parentheses there because that's the closing parentheses of this print statement, right? Okay, let me jump back over to lesson plan here. So you extract the text of the current file or the current paragraph with the text attribute. Again, no parentheses. Okay, so that's the logic. It's pretty straightforward, not too difficult here. Here I say the first practice is to use 11 files that I zip together in a zipped file called salinas.zip in the CMS. So you need to download that zip file from the CMS onto your hard drive and unzip it or uncompress it so that it expands out to a directory, right? A folder that has these 11 files, salinas__ekb.docx, salinas_02_ekb.docx, etc. These are 11 files from a corpus that I coordinated the creation of when I worked at Cal State Monterey Bay. I believe they still have the website up. Let me just see if they still have that website up. Yeah, they still have it up. Corpus of Mexican Spanish in Salinas, California. Salinas is a city of about 150,000 inhabitants, 75% of which are of Hispanic origin. Spanish is used a lot there. A lot of my students at California State University, Monterey Bay, were from Salinas in the Spanish major. So anyway, I have just 11 files from this thing. There are about 55 files that were interviews that were done in the creation of this corpus. So anyway, I made available 11 of them zipped together in salinas.zip. So once again, when you unzip it, it should expand out to a directory that has 11 files, all docx. Okay, then you need to write a program to the screen. Just simply write to the screen the first file, the first one, which is salinas_01_ekb.docx. Okay, so following this logic, pause the video and see if you can do this first program right here. Simply write to the screen, to print to the screen that is displayed to the screen, the first file. Okay, ready, set, go. Okay, welcome back. Let's take a look at how I approach this myself. Basically what I was displaying as an example is it, right? And so we first import the module by calling import docx on line 2. On line 3, we use this document function to create a document object, and the argument given is the pathway. Now we could, right, I will point out that we could have navigated down to this. We could have navigated down to that directory, right, with OS. If you remember this, when we saw this, we could have navigated down to this point, right, like this. And then in here, we would only have to call the actual file name like that. If I run this, well, let me just go ahead and continue explaining. Either way, so you can navigate down to the directory that has those 11 files, or you can give the full pathway every time, right? So I'm just going to undo what I've done, right, for the moment, and just give the full pathway from the top of the file system down to that file. Okay, I have that. And then I'm going to loop over the paragraphs attribute of that document object, which I stored as a variable called DOC. Right, I'm going to loop over it. I'm going to choose the variable name para for paragraph, because that's what it's looking at. It's looking at hard returns, all the text within a hard return as an object. And then we have to use the attribute .text on each of the paragraphs to actually see the text. And then we're just simply printing it out to the screen. Okay, so if I run this, let's see what happens. Keyboard shortcut, enter. And we got, muchas gracias por darme tu entrevista. Gracias a ti, gracias a ti. Yeah, this is looking good. Looks like it came through correctly. We got accented vowels that look correct. Let me just zoom in so we can see better. We got an inverted question mark there. That looks correct. Accented vowels came through correctly here. This all looks good. If I want to compare, I could come over here and open up the first one here in just Microsoft Word on my computer and just look. Let me just jump to the very bottom, because that's where we saw on the printout first down here. So yeah, there it is. Yep, muchas gracias por darme tu entrevista. Gracias a ti. So yeah, it looks good. Looks like it came through correctly and printed out to the screen correctly. Good. Okay, if you'd like to pause the video and get something like this working on your ends, please do so now. Okay, let's ramp it up. Let's see what else we can do here. So now it says modify the program to print to screen all 11 files. We simply did one file, right? But now we want to print all 11 files. So we're going to have to loop over all those 11 files, and then within each file, loop over the paragraphs, right? So see if you can modify your program to do that, to print out to the screen all 11 files, not just the one, not just the first one. Okay, so pause the video and give that a try. Ready, set, pause. All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at how you could do this modification. Okay, let's look at the code. Again, you can put these on one line if you want, just like this. This time I am going to change directories into that directory, right? Into where the 11 files are, which on my hard drive is in this directory, right? From the top of the file system down to that directory. And then on line 4, I get the file names. This could be any variable name, right? Well, I'll just leave it as is for the moment. Right, so I'm doing a list comprehension with the square brackets there. And I'm saying I for I in OS list directory. So OS list directory lists what's in the current directory. So I say basically give me everything in the current directory, but only if you find with this regex, this re.search function, if you find an actual dot and docx in the file name, right? And so I'm putting I here because I said I here for each. So it's looking at each of those 11 in turn, saying, do you find an actual dot and a docx in the file name? If so, then let's hold on to it. If not, don't worry about it. The reason I do that is because sometimes there are hidden files that may be picked up. And so to be explicit, I just want docx files, and I do this. I also put in the don't worry about capitalization here because sometimes you may have a capital DOCX, and so that's why I use this re.search to narrow down what files I'm looking at. Okay, then we have a list, a Python list that has the file names. We can look at that real quick if we want. We just print out file names, and I'm going to go ahead and comment out the rest of this code for the moment real quick. Run the whole script, Python script here. Oh, I know why, because this needs to be changed to this. Let me rerun the script. Okay, so there we have a list of those 11 files. You can see one here, it's kind of wonky. It has this tilde $. I think that's because I have it open over here. I still have it open over here. So let me just shut that down in Microsoft Word, rerun the script in Python, and see if it gets rid of that wonky one. Yeah, it got rid of that wonky file name. So there they are. So I have a file, I have a list with all the file names, right? And then what I'm doing here is just what I did with the previous program. I'm just going to, well, I'm going to loop over the file names, right? So I'm going to say for some variable name, I decided to choose cur underscore file, current file. In file names, which is the list that has all the file names, new line, right? Colon, new line, indentation. And then the rest of it is just the same as the previous one. But I'm passing in the cur file into the document function so that it's looking at this pathway or this text file, right? The current text file, pulls it in as doc, loops over the paragraphs with the dot paragraphs attribute, and prints out the text with the current paragraph. So if I run this, let's run this, keyboard shortcut, enter. It's going to print out all 11 files. Boom, 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 boom. It's going printing, and done. So let's take a look here, zoom in a bit. Down at the bottom of the last file, we should see this little bit of text. Let me just real quick open it up for fun. Just take a look at the last file here, Salinas 34, and jump to the very bottom of this screen. Oh, you know what? It didn't. Okay, it's not showing what we actually see here. The reason is because this right here doesn't preserve the order. So the last one it read, it wasn't actually 34. So, you know, we could do, watch this. We could sort this and it will be that way. I'm going to sort this right away and then I'll rerun it. Take a few seconds to run through all the files again. But we should see by. Okay, muchas gracias por su tiempo. Bye. Oh, okay. I got an error here. Gotta shut down that wonky one. It's causing problems because I have it open. Let's try it again. And here we go. Yep, there it is. Okay, muchas gracias por su tiempo. Bye. That's what we saw. So anyway, yeah, that's how you loop over. You simply just put them into a for loop, right? Just get a list with all the file names, go through, put them into a for loop, and just one by one, deal with each one in turn as you're looping over the file names. So if you'd like to pause the video and make your script on your end of things work, do so now. All right, let's move on to the next modification here. And this says modify the program to not print out lines that begin with the hashtag, the header, and timestamps, and lines that begin with / the questions and comments of the interviewer. Let me just open up one again in Microsoft Word. I'll just grab any of these. I'll just grab the middle, one of the middle ones here. So what this means is that lines that begin with the hashtag are what's called the header of a corpus file, and this is like information about the speaker. But it's not the actual speech of the speaker, right? And then lines that have a slash here, this was the convention that I decided to use when I created this corpus, that comments and questions and text, you know, production by the interviewer began, has a slash. So I can identify those as being, oh, that's from the interviewer, not from the interviewee, but the interviewer. So you can see, for example, estás listo, which means, are you ready? And the actual speaker says, sí, yes. The interviewer says, ¿de qué parte de México eres? Which is, from what part of Mexico are you from? And the speaker says, Michoacán. So the idea here is that you can identify non-speaker stuff by getting rid, or by looking for the hashtag or the /. And so if we only want to look at text produced by the actual speaker in question that has this socio-demographic information, right, then we can eliminate the other stuff. So jumping back here, modify the program to not print out lines with the hashtag, that begin with the hashtag, or that begin with the /. Okay, you're gonna need regex, and I will give you a hint, maybe I'll put it right here. The hint is that the caret symbol in regexes identifies the beginning of a string. So when you're looking at each paragraph in turn, you're looking at a string. So you could say, hey, find the beginning of the string with the caret symbol, right? The caret symbol is this one. It's above number 6. You have to do shift 6, right? You could say caret, then either hashtag or /. If that's the case, then I don't want this line. Okay. So give that a try. Try this little program for a few minutes or more. Ready, set, pause. Okay, welcome back. Let's see how I would approach this, how I did approach this. And just grab this little bit of code. Not too crazy of code here. Let me change this pathway, which I need to change permanently soon. But okay, so again, we import our modules here. And you can do it on 1 line or 3 lines. I think technically you're supposed to do it on different lines, but it works on 1 line. So change directories into the directory of the folder that has the 11 docx files. Do the same thing here. Get the file names. I think I will, just for fun, sort them after it produces a list. And then we go ahead and loop over like we did previously. Loop over each file name, create a document object and save it to docx as the variable name, loop over the paragraphs. Then this is where it's a little bit different. So we're gonna say, okay, if in the current paragraph's text, right, which we say para.text because we use the variable name para here for paragraph.text, if in the current paragraph's text, you find this regex, let me make this bigger for us. If you find this regex in the current paragraph's text, then continue, meaning go to the next paragraph and don't do anything with the current paragraph. And so once again, the caret symbol means look for the beginning of the string. Like it's a 0 width anchor, which means look for the beginning of the string. That is the beginning of the text in the paragraph. And look for this character class. Once again, in regex language, the square brackets means character class, which means one of these characters. If you find a hashtag or a number sign or pound sign, what have you, or you find a /, then re.search will return true. It'll return the Boolean value of true. If that's the case, then continue, which means jump to the next iteration of this for loop. Jump to the next pass through the body of the for loop, which means it'll jump to the next paragraph. If not, so if we don't find a hashtag or a / at the beginning of the current paragraph's text, then go ahead and print out that paragraph's text to us so we can see it. Okay. So here, I'm just going to look down in the previous exercise down here at the bottom of my screen, the console. What I want to point out is that we do have the comments of the interviewer. We have okay, muchas gracias por su tiempo, which means okay, thanks for your time. And we have other comments from the interviewer. When we run this now, we should not see this stuff with the /. We should see bye, And we should see Visita a la Virgen, visit the Virgin Mary. So let's rerun this. It's going to run all 11 again, but it's not going to print out paragraphs that begin with the hashtag or the /. Oh, again, okay. Again, I need to shut this down so it doesn't want to run that open, that wonky pathway. Okay, so it's running through all of them, but I don't, as it's running, I'm not seeing any paragraphs that, or any lines that have a hashtag or a /. And yeah, we don't see that one line before, okay, right? So it's not there. So yeah, that worked. It did not print out comments that were said or questions that were said by the interviewer, just the interviewee. Okay, so if you like to pause the video and make this script work on your end, you can do so, or you can look at the solution file as well. Okay, let's jump back over here and see this one right here. This next exercise is trying to apply it even more, but we're not doing anything different with processing text in Word documents. So if you've had enough fun with this, you can stop now. But if you like to see how you can like process some words and push them out to a CSV file that you could then import into a spreadsheet to do like manual coding, this is how you could go about that if all your files are in DOCX files, Microsoft Word document files. So this says, modify the program to create a concordance display of words that end in S or Z in all of those files. Write out to a CSV file the following information, each in a new column, separated by tabs. The file name that the match came from, the paragraph number, the preceding 10 words, the match, that is the word that ends in S or Z, and the following 10 words. Okay, so we're going to create a concordance display with Python using Microsoft Word documents as input. When imported into a spreadsheet, it should look something like this. So we have a picture here, right? So we have file, or column A has the file name that the match came from. Column B has the paragraph number. They're not going to be numbered in, they're not numbered in Microsoft Word, but we can keep track of what number the paragraph is in, so that may be useful. Column C is the previous context, the previous 10 words, if there are 10 words available. If not, then we get all the words that are available up to 10. Column D is the actual match, the word that ends in S or Z. And column E is the post context, the following 10 words if there are 10 words in the current paragraph. If not, we get all of them. Okay, so give that a try. This is ramping it up quite a bit. But see if you can do something like this. This is where you're actually applying text processing to creating some spreadsheet that you can then use to do some manual coding and do some linguistic analysis. So if you'd like to try this, go ahead and pause the video and give it a try. Okay, welcome back. And let's take a look at how you could approach this, how I approach this. It is more involved, but we will go ahead and walk through the code to explain each line. Zoom out a bit. Okay, so again, we import those 3 modules. We change directories into the directory with the 11 files, get the file names again. Just for fun, I'll go ahead and sort them. Okay. Then we create an out file here, save it to a variable name, and then we write out a header, file, paragraph number, previous context, the match, and the post context, all separated by tabs. Just /T are tabs, and then /N is a new line break. So the first row will be the header. I'm going to jump back to the lesson plan real quick to point out what I'm talking about. So row 1 here in the spreadsheet is that header, right? File, paragraph, previous context, match, post context. And then file 2 is where the actual results start. Okay, so we're going to loop over the file names like we did before. Here's a little progress report so we can see what it's working on at the moment. right? So just a little progress report. We concatenate the current file name to working on : new line break. Okay, then we pull in the current file as with the document function, save it to doc, the variable name doc. Then we create a new variable called para num equals 0 with underscore between para and num, right? Equals 0. So that'll be our paragraph counter there on line 12. Then we look at each paragraph in the current document, right? We're gonna loop over the current document's paragraphs like we did before. Then we're gonna increment the paragraph counter from whatever it was to one above it. So in the first iteration through this for loop, it'll be incremented from 0 to 1, right? And then on the second, it'll take what it currently has, which is 1, and increment up 1 to 2, etc. Right, then we get rid of, like we just did a second ago, we get rid of the paragraphs that begin with a hashtag or a / because we don't want the production of the interviewer, only the production of the interviewee. So we do that. And then we come in through here and we say, okay, the current line is the text of that paragraph, meaning, once again, line just means a hard return. So it could be one visual line or many lines. We're going to split up the current line / paragraph, same thing, into words with the dot split, or into, right, on white space, on spaces, tabs, or new line breaks. I think it's just all going to be all spaces here. Then we're going to loop over the indexes of those words in the current paragraph. And we're going to say, is the current word, so we're going to index into it. So we have words as a list, which we create on line 19. We're going to loop over the index of those words, that list. So we're going to go, the first word has an index of 0. The second one has an index of 1. The third word has an index of 2, etc., right, in the current paragraph. And we're going to say, okay, if you find, right, here's a regex. Let me zoom in again. If you find an alphanumeric character one or more times, and then you find either S or Z within character classes, right, square brackets, and then you find a word boundary, \b is word boundary in regex, right? If you find that to be the case, then with the current word, right, so we're indexing to the current word. If you find that to be the case, then indentation, right, another indentation level. Then get as many words as possible, as many of the preceding 10 words as possible. So we create a little empty string here, and then we do a J loop. So I'm going to back up. We're looking at this for loop that has I. Then we jump into another for loop within the for loop that will use the variable J to keep track of the indexes from -10 to 0. And we say try, just in case there aren't 10 previous words. It would error out. It would give us an index error if we didn't do this try. So try to get the previous word and concatenate it to this this collector here. That's what that plus equal signs mean. Okay, so we're saying, okay, we want some words. We want the current word, but actually go back 10 words on the first iteration through this J for loop. On the second iteration will be -9, so go back 9 words and give me that word and append it to this collector with the space. It'll keep doing that. Okay, and if we get an error like an index error, just print out to the console. Can't get all pre-context, right? Here's another way of doing all that. This is a more succinct way on line 33 of my code. It's commented out right now because you just need one or the other. Okay, and then we need to get the following words. The same idea, but on the right side of the match. So rather than from -10, let me get back up here. Rather from -10 to 0, right? The previous 10 words up to the current word 0, go from 1 to 11 on the indexes. Go out to the right. Same idea, concatenating with a space. If you get an error in this line on 41, then just print out to the console. You can't get all that surrounding context. And then the output, we're going to concatenate a big old string here. So os.path base name just gives me the file name. It's like salinas_01_ekb.docx. That's what it would give us. We're going to concatenate that with the tab. Then we're going to concatenate that with the paragraph number, which we coerce to string with the str function, right? Coerce that with to a paragraph, or concatenate that to a paragraph. You get the previous words that we created up above. I'm going to scroll back up here. Right here, right? This is where we create the previous words of the current match. And then we concatenate that with the current word. Right? I don't know why it's on two different lines. It doesn't need to be, but it's word indexed into the current word, plus the tab, plus the post words that we created above here, right here. And then at the very end of all that, put in a new line break so that the next line will be below it, not out to the right. And write that out to the hard drive, and then close your connection. Okay. And then print all done. So let's see if this works. Let me just check my pathways real quick. My pathway right here is wrong. So let me change this to the correct one, which is that one. We let that go. Let's see if it is working. It's working. It's telling me that I can't find a lot of surrounding context, which is not surprising. A lot of the paragraphs are short. There we go, all done. So it should have created a new file on my hard drive called salinas_conc.csv within my downloads, right? I had to say W here for write out. Okay. So if I were to come over here, I already have it open, but let me open it up from the top. If in Excel, I'm in an Excel worksheet, for example, right here, I have an empty worksheet open, and I come up to data, then I come over to from text, and I go into the directory on my hard drive where it is in my downloads. In this case, it's called Salinas_conc. So there it is, Salinas_conc.csv, and say get data. And then here, say next, it's a tab, but I can see a problem here with the preview. Let me just back up. You can see that, for example, Michoacan has an accented A at the end, the second from last letter in the state of the name of the state, Michoacan in Mexico, in central Mexico. That A did not come through correctly. So we have a character encoding issue here. And you can see it says file origin Macintosh on my Macintosh. That's what it says. That's not correct. It's actually UTF-8 encoding. So I'm going to come down to Unicode UTF-8 right there and say this is actually UTF-8 encoding because that's what Python 3 does. And when I change that, you can see that it's kind of hard to see because it's so small, but you can see that it now has an accented A on Michoacan. And it has the tilde over the ñ, which is like an N. Double check that it says tabs because that's what I specified back over here in Python with each of these \T's right there, as well as down here. Those are tabs. Then I can just say finish at this point and say, yeah, put it in A1, that'd be fine. And here we have a concordance display of all words in those 11 files that end in S or Z. And how many rows do we have? We have over 6,900 rows, over 6,900 tokens or words that end in S or Z in those 11 files. Okay, and I can make this a little bit easier for me to read. I could probably bring this in a bit, and actually I want to make this right justified so that it's up next to the match object right here in column D. Let me shrink column D a bit here, like probably about there. Let me make column D center oriented, center justified, so I can see the words in context. Let me make this bigger still. Right, so I'm seeing the word final, I'm seeing the S at the end of these words. That's what we wanted. We wanted words that ended in S or Z, which represent a sibilant in Mexican Spanish. I don't see any Z's yet, but I bet there are some Z's in here. There's 10, which means 10. Anyway, so you can see that we got 10 words before and after if there were 10 words available. Okay, so at this point, if I want to do some more manual coding of like, is it a proper noun or a common noun? Is it a plural S or is it second person singular verbal form like the tú form, which is informal you in Spanish. I could do some manual coding if I wanted here on the right side. I would just create some more columns out here to the right and just go through and look at the context. It shows me the words in context. Okay, so that was way more involved. But the point here is that you can combine several different things into a pipeline where you have as input 11 docx files, and as output you have a nice spreadsheet that has only certain words you want to look at in those 11 files ready to be analyzed. All right, so that's the point of this more involved practice exercise here. Okay, so at this point, hopefully you should be able to extract text from Microsoft Word documents using this package with this logic. All right, so that brings us to a close of this lesson 6.2. See you next time.